Dear viewers, the topic which I will cover today is Bangladesh better off than Pakistan today? There is a debate going on in Pakistan, and which is very interesting, that Bangladesh, which was called as by Dr. Henry Kissinger, who was the National Security Advisor during President Nixon's time and also Secretary of State, and he used to ridicule Bangladesh in 1972, 73, 74 as a basket with a hole, as an international beggar. Nothing can be done to change things in Bangladesh. Floods, corruption, nepotism, lawlessness, political polarization. These were the issues which, since the birth of Bangladesh and the destruction which was caused during the civil war, absolutely, Bangladesh had to start from scratch. But then, after 50 years, it is said that in many ways Bangladesh is better off than Pakistan. What does it mean? It basically means that its economy is growing around 8-9% despite the pandemic. Its per capita income is almost at par with Pakistan's GDP, $320 billion. Its foreign exchange reserves are more than double than Pakistan. Its literacy ratio is better than Pakistan. Women empowerment is better than Pakistan. Its population, as far as demography is concerned, Pakistan's population is 220 million people. Bangladesh population is 140 million people. And there was a time 50 years ago when East Pakistan was in majority with 55% of the population, and West Pakistan was a minority. The total population of Pakistan in 1971 was around 130 million, and East Pakistan had 55 million people, 55% of the population. So, what has happened? How a paradigm shift took place in case of Bangladesh, and Bangladesh is quoted as an example in Pakistan. But it doesn't mean that Bangladesh is without any conflict, that Bangladesh is not facing problems. That country is facing problems, absolutely. There are various issues, there are political issues, there are issues of governance. But to a large extent, it is said that Bangladesh has done well, and it has beaten Pakistan in terms of economy, in terms of political stability, in terms of women empowerment, in terms of demography and things like that. Now, basically, in case of Bangladesh, they had their minuses, like the floods and the political conflicts and polarization going on in Bangladesh. But the plus is a homogeneous country, homogeneous. That 95-98% population composed of Bengalis, of the Bengali-speaking people, except the Chittagong hill tracts, the Chakmas and some other minorities. Homogeneous. There are three major things which we have to remember, or the landmarks or the milestones. The first, basically, it all started in the early 80s. Dr. Muhammad Yunus, the founder of Grameen Bank, an economist, the Nobel laureate. He was the person who basically caused the turnaround, microfinance, Grameen Bank. He used to motivate women, unemployed people, by giving them loans, short-term loans, and then on easy installments, and he lifted millions of people, unemployed people, poor people, through the micro credit financing. So one cannot disregard Dr. Muhammad Yunus, although the regime of Sheikh Hasina has been against him and has tried to discredit him. But certainly Dr. Muhammad Yunus has his own place in history, has its own place as far as contributions concerned. No one can undermine his role in transforming Bangladesh from a very poor, impoverished country to a relatively economic, stable country. The second is about the innovation. We used to call in Pakistan, in West Pakistan, the Bengalis being very lazy, not intelligent people, dark-skinned, short, in their height, and you should ridicule them that they can never ever succeed, they can never ever make it, they will be always be dependent. And that is what Henry Kissinger also used to, that Bangladesh would remain a basket with a hole. How come the same people who were called as lazy, not intelligent people, turn out to be very intelligent, very innovative? And you can imagine that how innovative they are, that cotton is not grown in Bangladesh as such. The main crops, like used to be jute and tea and sugar cane. Cotton is not grown in Bangladesh like Pakistan. But how come the same country has been exporting $30 billion of garments to the outside world? And without cotton, you cannot process garment, the textile and things like that. So the innovation basically that they decided to import cotton, like $100 million, $200 million, train their people in garment factories, thousands of garment factories, and of course the cost of labor being very cheap in Bangladesh. So they basically empowered those who were unemployed in garment factories, or those, even the beggars and others, they were motivated to work in garment factories, although they were not paid well, but something better than nothing. To the extent that, and then Bangladesh also got the quota of least developing country, that's another thing, and it helped in augmenting its exports. So $35 billion of exports. And the exports of Pakistan are hardly $25 billion. And Pakistan, which is a cotton growing country, is now importing cotton. The textile sector of Pakistan, which got some impetus in the last couple of months, is facing a crisis, because the cotton crop has not been is not sufficient to meet the demands. So Pakistan has to import cotton. Bangladesh is self-sufficient now in food, which is amazing. During Pakistan times, it was not self-sufficient in food. So the lesson which one learns when one says that Bangladesh is better off than Pakistan, that they have used their innovation, they have used their intelligence, the leadership, and also the fact they have realized that they have caused enormous damage in terms of political violence in Bangladesh. Absolutely notorious political violence, strikes. Now you don't hear, When I was in Bangladesh in 2002, every month there used to be a strike. And a strike basically is at the expense of production, whether education institutions are closed or the factories or the industries. And Bangladesh was known for strikes. Out of 365 days in the 80s, at least 100 days were strikes. This is not the case anymore. So it basically means that the regime of Sheikh Hasina, despite criticism, it is very ruthless. It has crushed the opposition. It is pro-Indian. But then the credit goes to the regime of Sheikh Hasina that it has empowered the people of Bangladesh, and this is the 12th year of her regime. One can question the manner in which she contested elections, the manner in which elections were rigged, the manner in which opposition was silenced. But then this is the third term of Sheikh Hasina's Awami League. And what Awami League has done, it has used both carrot and stick. It has crushed the opposition, it has crushed its opponents, particularly BNP, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, Jamaat Islami banned. But then it has used its political power in order to enhance the level of production. And they have basically applied the theory in practical terms that an empty mind is a devil's paradise. So as long as there was politicization, political violence in Bangladesh, it was at the expense of their development. So nowadays you can see a relative peace in Bangladesh. I don't know for how long it will be. And the people of Bangladesh, they have also realized they have a long way to go, and certainly they have been helped by India, they have been helped by China, of course, and they basically are getting a lot of foreign investments and the infrastructure. Japan has has contributed for the development of Bangladesh. But the problem with Bangladesh is there are two major problems. First is corruption. Absolutely. Corruption is a disease. I am not saying that everyone is corrupt in Bangladesh, but it is a major problem. The second is certainly nepotism. That how the educational institutions, the universities have been politicized. Politicized not in terms of political violence, but the fact that Awami League has been able to induct its people over there. And I was surprised that even for the election of deans of various faculties in Bangladesh, that is on the basis of political parties, that the white panel, BNP, blue panel, Awami League. So when you have political, people as vice chancellors, as deans, as professors, and the faculty and the students and things like that, but it is there. So I think the issues are quite critical issues in Bangladesh, and it was primarily the vision of Awami League and Sheikh Hasina that the 50 years of Bangladesh, they will celebrate 50 years with a chain of success, or the successes, economic success, demographic success, and in technology Bangladesh is also, thousands of Bangladeshi students are studying elsewhere, abroad. The Bangladeshi currency, Taka, is double than Pakistan, which was the other way around 30 years ago. So I'll end by saying that we have to keep fingers crossed. When we talk about is Bangladesh better off than Pakistan, Pakistan is not better off than Bangladesh because of its own issues. Corruption, nepotism, and there are many other issues. Bangladesh is also facing. But the problem with Pakistan is that 2 steps forward, 4 steps backward in terms of development, in terms of progress. Thank you very much.